My channel name is Kayla Baela, and this is my second YouTube tutorial. It's going to be a tutorial on this hat right here. It's a little Bumblebee crochet hat. And I got the original inspiration, well, my friend got the original inspiration off of Pinterest, and she wanted a Bumblebee hat because she was going to see Beyonce. You know, Bumblebees, beehive, it makes sense. So I wanted to do a tutorial on it because it's not a super difficult make or even very time consuming. I got it done in like a few hours. So if you can do like the double crochet stitch, which is the majority of it, and also just like a little bit of sewing, you have to sew the ears on, then this is definitely something that you can make. So if you want to learn, stay tuned. To complete this crochet project, you're going to need these materials. 3 different yarns, a yellow, a black, and a white, since we're making a bumblebee hat, a pair of scissors, a crochet hook, you should get whatever size corresponds with your yarn weight, and a darning needle. To start crocheting this hat, you're going to take your yarn, you're going to start with the yellow yarn, wrap it around. As I said in my first video, I don't usually start with the slip knot because I just don't like how it sticks out at the end. So I'm just going to take the yarn and make an X like that. And then I'm going to insert my crochet hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And so I like to leave this first stitch really loose because you're going to work back into it. And then you chain 3 more. So you'll have 4 chains on your hook. And then you slip stitch into the first stitch that you made. Okay, so then this creates kind of a circle. There should be like a little circle in the center of this. You're going to double crochet around that circle. So you'll chain 2 for height. And then you're going to yarn over and then insert your hook into the hole, not into the chain, but into the hole itself, and then double crochet. So this is 1. And then you keep doing that around the circle. You're going to do 12 double crochet stitches total. So 2, 11, and then 12 is the last one. Okay, so now I have 12 double crochet stitches and 2 chains for height, which technically counts as another double crochet stitch. And if you brought your end piece of the yarn along with you, one thing that you can do that's pretty cool is pull the yarn once you get to the end of this row, and it'll close up your center circle. If you didn't bring the yarn along with you, you can always close that circle up at the end when you tuck all your pieces with your darning needle, but it's cool that you can do that this early on too if you want. So now that you're at the end of the circle, you need to close the circle. So you're going to slip stitch into your first double crochet stitch, and then your circle is closed. So on to the second row. So chain 2 for height, and you're going to use the double crochet stitch around this row as well, but this time you're going to increase into every stitch. So you're going to yarn over, and then in this first space that's right next to where your 2 chains are, you're going to double crochet, and then that will count as an increase. So you have the 2 chains for height and then the 1 double crochet. That's going to count as the increase. So in the next stitch, you're going to do 2 double crochet stitches into the next space. So 1, 2. Okay, now you have your increase. And then you continue doing that around the entire circle. So 2 double crochet stitches into every space. So now I'm on my last stitch of this row. So I'm going to do 1 last increase. So that was 1, and then 2 double crochets into the last stitch. And then you're going to finish it off by doing a slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch. And now you close up your circle. So on this third row, you're going to chain 2 again for height. And then once again, we're going to double crochet around this entire circle. But the pattern for this one is going to be increase, one double crochet stitch, and then increase again. So starting off, you're going to yarn over and then into this first space, you're going to double crochet, and then you're going to do one double crochet stitch into the next space. So no increase, just one. And then you're going to increase into the next space. So two double crochets into this next stitch. The next space, you'll just do one double crochet again, and then increase again. So there you have your increase, and then one double crochet, and then increase again. So you'll continue doing that pattern around the entire circle. Okay, so I'm on my last stitch again of this row, and I'm going to finish off with one double crochet into this last space. So then you're going to finish off the circle by slip stitching into the first stitch, and then you chain 2 for height, and then you're going to work around the 4th row. So on this row, you're going to do increase, double crochet, increase. So every row that you go up, you're just going to increase the number of double crochet stitches you do in between each increase stitch. So starting off, you're going to double crochet into this first space, and that's going to count as your first increase because it's one double crochet and then 2 chains for height. So that counts as an increase. And then you're going to do one double crochet into the next stitch, then one more into the next stitch, and then increase. So 2 double crochets into the same space. And then you do one more double crochet into the next stitch, another one into the next space, and then you increase again. So 2 double crochets into the same space. Okay. Once again, one double crochet into the next space, another double crochet into the next space, and then you increase. So 2 double crochets into this same space. So I'm just going to continue doing this pattern around the entire circle, and I'll come back when I'm on the other side. So I'm at the end of the 3rd row, and I'm going to finish on an increase. So 2 double crochet stitches in this last space. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch to close up the circle, chain 2 for height. And then on this 4th row, the pattern is going to change a bit. So it's going to be increase, double crochet, and then increase again. So I'm going to do an increase or double crochet stitch into this first space. Sorry, I'm just going to show it again. Okay, so this first space right by my 2 chains, I'm going to do a double crochet right there. And then that's going to count as my first increase if you include the 2 chains that I did for height. So then one double crochet into the next space, and then another double crochet into the next space, and then increase again. So 2 double crochets into this space. So there's your increase. And then you do one double crochet again into the next space, one more double crochet, and then increase. So there's your increase. So one double crochet, second double crochet, and then increase into the next space. Boom. Okay, so you continue doing that pattern around the entire circle, and then I'm going to come back when I'm on my last stitch again. So now I'm finishing up this 4th row. I'm going to end on an increase. So 2 double crochets into this next space. And like the previous rows, you're going to do a slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch to close up the circle and chain 2 for height. So for this row, you're going to do increase, double crochet, and then increase again. So if you haven't noticed already, on each row that you go up, you just increase the number of double crochet stitches you do in between each increase by 1. So this row, has 3 double crochet stitches and then an increase. And then the next one will have 4 and then increase and then 5 and then increase. So you can just continue doing that pattern until you have a circle that is as large as you want it to be. I'm going to do about 7 rows. So for this one, I'm going to start off with a double crochet stitch into that first space, which counts as the increase. So it has these 2 pieces right there. And then you do 1 double crochet, the second one, in the next space, the third, and then increase. So 2 double crochets into the next space. So there is your increase. So then 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, increase. So 2 in this space. Once again, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, increase, 2 in this space. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing this pattern around the circle, and then I'll come back when I'm at the last stitch. So I'm on the last stitch of this row. I'm going to finish on an increase. So 2 double crochets into this space. And then I'm going to slip stitch in the first double crochet stitch. And then I close off my circle. So chain 2 for height. And then we're going to increase the number of double crochet stitches between the increases. So this time I'm going to do 4 double crochet stitches and then an increase. So of course you start with the increase. So in this first space right here, do 1 double crochet, and that counts as your increase if you include the 2 chains for height. And then so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you increase, so 2 double crochet stitches in the same space. And then once again, 1 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, and then increase, so 2 double crochets in the next space. And then you continue that pattern around the circle. So I'm on the last stitch on this row. So I'm going to end on the increase. I already did 1. So this will be the second double crochet into that space. So there's your increase. And then you're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch, chain 2 for height, and then work around this row. So for this row, you're going to do increase and then 5 double crochet stitches and then increase again. So starting off, yarn over, double crochet into that first space next to your 2 chains. That's your first increase. And then 1 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then increase, do 2 double crochet stitches into the next space. There you go. And then you're going to continue that pattern around the circle, and I'll come back when I'm on my last stitch. So now I'm on my last stitch on this row, and I decided that this is going to be my last row. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think the circle is big enough to be the top of the bucket hat. So I'm going to finish on an increase. So I'm going to do 2 double crochet stitches. So 1 and 2. And then you're going to slip stitch into the first stitch. But since I'm going to start doing like the tall part of the hat, I'm actually going to switch colors. So I'm going to switch to the black. So I'm going to cut my yellow yarn because I don't need that for right now. And then I'm going to bring in my black yarn. And so when I slip stitch into this first double crochet stitch, I'm not going to yarn over with the yellow piece like I normally would. I'm going to yarn over with the black. So you pull up a loop, and then it tends to be really loose when you switch colors this way, but you're just going to pull all your yarns as best you can. And then I'm going to chain 2 with the black for height because I'm going to continue with the double crochet stitch. And then I'm going to start double crocheting around the circle, only using the black yarn. But this time I'm not going to do any increases. So 1 double crochet stitch into each space. So yarn over, and then double crochet into the first space. And one thing that you could do that's really helpful for me is the end piece that's just like hanging off. I like to bring that along with me. That way I don't have to like tuck this piece at the end. So I'm going to like hold this piece like right on top of the double crochet stitch. And then I'm going to go under and around. And that way this piece is already like tucked into the double crochet stitch. And I can pull it tighter if I need to. So continue going around the circle. So I'm just going to continue doing double crochet stitches around this edge without doing any increases, and I'll come back when I'm on the last stitch. So now I'm at the end of this row, and I'm going to finish with one double crochet because there was no increases on this row. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch. This is probably kind of hard to see because it's black yarn, but slip stitch into the first stitch and then chain 2 for height. And then you're going to flip your work and then double crochet around this entire row again so that there will be 2 rows of the black yarn. Yeah, and no increases on this row as well. So double crochet into the first one, and I'm going to come back once I get to the last stitch on this row. So I'm on the last stitch of the second row of the black double crochets. So I'm going to finish with 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into this first double crochet stitch, but I'm going to change back to the yellow color. So I'm going to take my scissors and cut the yarn, and I can move the black yarn to the side. And then when I slip stitch into this first double crochet stitch, I'm going to yarn over, but I'm going to pull up the yellow yarn instead of the black. Okay, and then you pull all your yarns to tighten everything as much as you can. And then you take your working yellow, chain 2 for height, and then you can flip your work and bring the yellow yarn around with you by doing the same way you did it with the black yarn. And then you're going to double crochet around this entire circle or this edge using the yellow yarn. And you're going to do 3 rows of the yellow. And you can see that I'm bringing the yellow yarn around with me because I'm crocheting with it in the center of my double crochet stitches. So that way I won't have to tuck this yarn in the end. It's just like one less step later on. So I'm going to continue crocheting until I have 3 rows of the yellow, and I'll come back when I'm at the end of it. So now I'm on my last stitch on this row. So I'm going to finish it off with a double crochet stitch, but then I'm going to switch into the black yarn. I'm going to do 2 more stripes or 2 more rows of double crochet stitches in the black yarn. So from here, I can cut the yarn, put the yellow to the side for a minute, and then slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch. But instead of yarn over with the yellow, you're going to yarn over with the black. And switch over to that color. Boom. All right, so you're going to pull all the yarns as tight as you can, and then you're going to chain 2, since we're doing the double crochet stitch, flip your work, and then you're going to do 2 rows of the double crochet stitch in this black yarn, and you're not going to do any increases on this row. And if you can bring this end piece along with you. I'm actually going to take this one out because I think I should do. Okay, so that's my first one. That's the second. I'm going around the black end piece so that I can carry it along with me. And that way I won't have to tuck it at the end. So I'm going to continue doing double crochet stitches around until I have 2 rows, and I'll come back when I'm on the last stitch of the second row. So I'm on the last stitch, the last double crochet stitch of this row. So I'm going to finish it off with 1 double crochet. And then at this point, I already cut the yarn. So I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch. And I'm going to yarn over with the yellow yarn since I'm switching back to this color. And then pull up the yellow yarn, pull all your end pieces. And then chain 2 for height. And then I'm going to double crochet around this edge again, but this time I'm going to make this an increase row. So when we first started, we were doing a certain number of double crochet stitches in between each increase. So you're pretty much going to continue that circle around this edge. So the last row, the circle that we did, it was increase 5 double crochets and then increase again. So for this row, you're going to continue with that increase, and you're going to do increase 6 double crochets and then increase again. So yarn over and then double crochet into this first space, and that will count as your first increase. And then you're going to do 6 double crochets into the next 6 spaces. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And then you're going to do an increase. So 2 double crochets into this next space. And then you continue again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then increase. So 2 double crochets. Okay. So you're going to continue doing this pattern around the entire circle, and then I'll come back when I have 1 double crochet left. So I'm at the end of this row. I'm going to finish with 1 double crochet stitch, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet, chain 2 for height, and then for this row you're going to do increase 7 double crochets and then increase again. So in the first space you'll do your increase. So there it is, and then you do 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry. Okay, that was 7. And then so I'm going to do an increase into this space. So I already did 1, and then 2 will be the increase. So 7 again. So 1, and then 7, and then I'm going to increase. So 2 double crochets into this next space. Okay, so there's the increase. And then I'm going to continue this pattern, continue doing those increases around this row, and I'll come back when I'm on the last stitch. So now I'm on the last stitch of this row. I'm going to finish off with 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch, chain 2 for height, and then for this row you're going to do increase and then 8 double crochets and then increase again, because on the previous row you did 7. So in this first stitch, this will count as the first increase, and then you'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 double crochets and then increase. So 2 in the next space. 1, 2. All right. So then 8 more. 1, 8. And then increase. So 2 in the next space. 1, 2. And then you'll continue doing that pattern all around, and I'll come back when I'm on the last stitch. So I'm on the last stitch of this row. I'm going to finish with 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first space, chain 2 for height, and then I'm going to work around this row. So for this row, you're going to do increase 9 double crochets and then increase again. So this first stitch will count as 1 increase, and then you'll do 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. And then you'll do an increase, so 2 in this one space. And then you'll continue doing that pattern around, and I'll come back when I'm on the last stitch. So I'm on the last stitch of this row, and I'm going to finish with 1 double crochet again. Slip stitch into the first stitch, chain 2 for height, and then for this row, you're going to do increase 10 double crochets and then increase again. So this will count as 1 increase, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then increase, so 2 in this next space. And then you'll continue doing that pattern, increase 10 double crochets, and then increase again around the circle. And once again, I'll come back when I'm on my last stitch. All right, so I'm on the last stitch. I'm going to finish with 1 double crochet and then slip stitch into the first stitch, chain 2 for height. And then on this row, I'm going to do increase 11 double crochets and then increase again. And if you want, that could be your last row. I'm going to make it mine. So double crochet into the first space, and that'll count as your first increase. And then you'll do 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, and then this next space is going to be an increase. So 2 in the same spot. So 1, 2, and then there's your increase. And then you're going to continue this pattern around the rest of the brim. And I'll come back when I have 1 stitch left. So I'm on my last stitch on my last row. So I'm going to finish with a double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch, and then you can pull your yarn all the way through. I'd already cut it, so yeah, there it is. All right, if you want to make the brim longer, you just have to continue doing the pattern the way we were previously doing it. So on the next row, you would do chain 2 for height, and then increase, and then 12 double crochets, and then increase again. And then the next row you would do 13, and you would just continue until you have it the length that you want it to be. But I think this length right here is good enough for me. So your next step would be to tuck all the end pieces. So you're going to take your darning needle, insert your yarn into the darning needle, and then you're just going to tuck the end pieces wherever they can fit. So I hate this part, but just continue. Okay, so there it is. That piece is tucked. You can't see it. Looks great. So now I'm going to tuck the rest of the pieces off camera, and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so we're done with the hat for right now, and we're going to move on to making the wings for the hat. So you're going to switch to your white yarn, and you're going to pretty much start this off the same way you started off this flat circle from the top of the hat. You're going to take your yarn, wrap it around, creating an X, and then you insert your hook and you chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So remember to leave the first chain really loose because I'm going to work back into that. So from here, you're going to slip stitch into your first chain that you created. And then you chain 2 for height. And then from there, you're going to double crochet around the circle, going through the middle of the circle, and you're going to do 12 double crochets. So 1, 12. All right, so if you brought the yarn, the end piece along with you, you should be able to pull the yarn and it'll close up that center circle. But if you didn't do that, you can always just tuck this end piece at the end and that'll help to close the circle as well. So you're gonna slip stitch into the first double crochet that you made and that'll close it up as well. And then chain 2 for height. And then on this row, you're gonna do an increase in every stitch. So yarn over and then double crochet through that first space. And that'll count as your first increase. And then in this next space, you'll do 2 double crochets. And that is your second increase. So continue doing 2 double crochets into every space until you get to the end of the circle. Okay, so I'm on the last stitch. I'm going to finish off with 1 more increase. And then I'm going to slip stitch in the first double crochet. And that closes up the circle. So chain 2 again for height. And then on this row, you're going to do an increase in every other stitch. So you start off with 1 increase by double crocheting into the first space. And then you're just going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch and then increase again. So 2 in this next space, 1, 2. And then 1 again, and then 1, 2. And then you'll continue doing that pattern, every other space being an increase until you get to the end of the circle. Okay, so I'm finishing on an increase. So I'm going to do 2 double crochets in this next space. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch. And then from there, you can cut your yarn over and pull the yarn all the way through. So now you have your ear done. And I did the other one off camera. So now I have 2. And from here, I'm going to use my darning needles to tuck the end pieces. Okay, so now that the wings are done, I'm going to tuck the end pieces. So I'm going to take my darning needle, insert the yarn into it, and then I'm going to tuck the yarn wherever it fits in. Okay, so that center piece I feel like is good enough. So I'm going to cut the yarn, and then I'm going to tuck this other piece. Okay, so that one looks good. And I'm going to do the other one off camera. Okay, so all the end pieces are tucked on the wings. So now I can attach them. And this is the last step. So we're like almost done. So you're going to take your white yarn and cut like a pretty decent amount. It doesn't have to be a lot. And then you're going to insert it into your darning needle. I hate when this happens. Okay, here you go. All right, so you put it all the way through, and then you kind of are going to do this like if you were sewing. So I'm going to take one of the ears and I want to set it. Okay, so this is the center of the circle. I'm going to do 3 rows out, or like the middle of the 3rd row. So 1, 2, 3. And then that's where I want to attach the wing, because I want like a little piece of it to hang off the edge. So I'm just going to sew it like in this area. And I'm going to take my yarn. I'm going to tie like a little knot at the end. And then I'm going to start from the bottom and insert it about right there. That's where it lands. And then I'm just going to like sew, going over those same 2 spots. And I would do that like a few times. You don't have to do it too many because this yarn is really thick. So you don't really have to worry about the yarn breaking too easily. All right, so that's that. I think I'm good with that amount. I think I only did that like 4 times. So then you're gonna flip it over and then tie it. Okay, so that's 2 knots. And then I'm gonna cut my yarn, move the needle away. And then I'm just gonna take the separate pieces and tie them just to make it a little bit more secure. And then same thing with these other 2 pieces. And then you can cut your pieces shorter. If you want, you could tuck these in pieces, but I wouldn't recommend that because since this yarn is white and this yarn is yellow, you might see white poking through, and you don't really want that unless you tuck it like directly under where the wing will lay. But now the wing kind of stands up a little bit. Oh, you can see that. And that one's done. So you're gonna do the same thing with the other wing. So I'm gonna count 3 from the center. So 1, 2, 3. And I want the wing to lay directly across from this one and also in the middle of the 3rd row. So I think that's pretty good for placement. And then I'm going to take my yarn, wrap it around, tie it in a knot. Okay, so now it's done and you can wear your hat. So that completes this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching to the very end. I really appreciate the support. If anything wasn't super clear, you can comment below or message me on TikTok or Instagram at Kayla Baela, and I'll be sure to answer. But thanks again for the support. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, all of that.